Hello Paisanos, it's ES63, and I finally finished playing TetherGeist, and what an amazing adventure this video game was from start to finish. Overall, I give TetherGeist an 8 out of 10, but I'm gonna, make, review on why I give it an 8 out of 10 on my final score, and yeah. But anyways, here's my review on TetherGeist. So, TetherGeist, of course, I'll be explaining through this on my Nintendo Switch 2, screenshots that I took and stuff, and yeah. And also, yes, I did. I also did play this game on Steam. Also, I bought it on both Steam and Nintendo Switch 2. I don't do that to a lot of video games nowadays, but Tethergeist was an exception though, because if you don't know, on the O and Co Games YouTube channel and stuff, they've been pretty much been working on this game devlog since I think was it 2022 or 2023. I don't remember, but one of those years. And they spend like a very, very, very damn long time, honestly, on this game from like start to finish, honestly. And you can tell it just took a while. And I remember, watching one of the devlogs in 2024 and stuff. And this really caught my attention to eye, honestly, because of just how very, well crafted this game was and just how, very unique it was, honestly. And I was honestly very excited to play it, honestly, for excited to I could not wait for this game to release and stuff. So here we are finally in 2026 of no, sorry, that's Pragmata and stuff. Here we are in 2026 now with TetherGeist now releasing, and here it is. So yeah, so here it was and stuff. Oh, and also yes, I did play this on a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller and stuff. And yeah, but yeah, here it was with support almost, and stuff. And the title screen so far, it just got me pumped the way this artwork was done. I always just love, honestly, when indies just go for the more hand-drawn, like, when they do this kind of art style and stuff, when it comes to explaining through a cutscene and stuff, because it helps to give the game a lot more light, especially if they're making, like, some kind of, like, pixel art game and stuff. It gives the character, more light and stuff, and yeah. But yeah. And yeah, that was the file screen, and then here was the beginning of the game and stuff, the story of, May and stuff, and May, of course, story begins, obviously, she has to say that her ancestors did the binding on the foot, and my mom says, sorry, I think I took a picture of that twice, and of course, we get introduced to the three other people and stuff, yeah, but doesn't your tether, hurt, which is what here it is. If they could do it without spear, then I should be able to do it with my tether. And, of course, not all the time and stuff, and yeah. And, of course, it's really not as a big deal as everyone makes it to be, as she says right here. And I guess we'll find out tomorrow, and yeah. Well, we should head back home. We got a big day ahead of us. And yeah. And finally, this is where the game officially begins and stuff, where these three members and stuff, who also have their spirit and stuff, and yeah. And now we unlock our own spirit, our own tether and stuff, and yeah, pretty much. And we get introduced to the game's mechanics, this is the first one where you basically can dash and stuff. And as you may know, the obvious tutorial section, but it's a really great tutorial stage. It really goes by action and doesn't stop you, in my opinion, with press X to do that, like in a talking cutscene. But no, it just explains through action and stuff. Just very simple, and I really appreciate that. And here's the red blossom and stuff. Obviously, I did not collect all of these because these were for the true ending. But yeah. And then after that, the game officially starts here and stuff. This part really kind of reminds me of Hyper Light Drifter for some reason. I don't know. Like, the town kind of feels like it could be in a Hyper Light Drifter or something. But anyways, we'll be ready for the tumor and stuff, and the elders, being worried. And here's where we get introduced to sort of like the Battleline of this game. Battleline from Celeste. This is kind of like our Battleline of this game and stuff, who is Foil and stuff. And Foil, puts us back and stuff to the room, and yeah, and this is where we head off to our adventure, and there's our mother and stuff, and our mother's very worried and stuff that we were feeling unconscious, but we are being stubborn, of course, because we want to get the binding also, and yeah. And of course, her stubbornness and her mother being worried and stuff, but we go to the elders and stuff, and yeah. And here is the town and stuff with all three of the spirits, doing the prayer and stuff. And yeah, and unfortunately, we are too late and stuff, and yeah. 2 days, village's newest souls. Good to see you're up, May. How you been feeling and stuff? Why can't I do the binding and stuff? Stubborn. Frustration. circumstances because we have some disability. I think that's what this game goes for. If Celeste was all about anxiety or depression, then I think this game is about disability and wanting to fit in society and stuff. Or I think most likely it has something to do with more nature versus nurture and stuff. Okay, but back to the game. But after that, our stubborn self doesn't accept this, and obviously, and yep, and the elders keep saying, no, you're not ready and stuff. You need to wait for 1 year. And the bitings, yeah, and stuff. We aren't waiting until next year, and yeah, the biting and stuff. I heard about what happened, tough break and stuff. You're one of the toughest by now. I'm sure they'll let you go next year. And yeah, as the guy said, not sure if I'll still have a tether. They'll come around, everyone just wants to be safe. Just because they make the journey spirit flight doesn't mean it can make others be done on foot. What he says. And the lady, you're outside of town, is away to the found souls and stuff. And of course, don't know. Okay, sorry to read all this, but yeah. Well, she's going there, so I am. And of course, the lady who helped us and stuff. What was her? Is it Foil? So Foyl. I don't know. But yeah. And of course, we're stubborn and stuff, but he doesn't let us through, so we have to sneak around at night, and yeah. And we are sneaky, and of course, we are about to sneak out and start our TetherGeist adventure. And of course, our mom stops us, well, doesn't tell us, and we can't wait for another year. Ready to go, and she allows us to go, and stuff. I agree with the consultation. I don't want you to go, but I also don't want you to hold you back. And yeah, it kind of is very hard since we really want to do this journey, but we also have to be safe. It's best to have a balance of both, and collect the blossoms and stuff, which I didn't do, but I'm gonna go back and play this game again and collect them all. And yeah, difficult to reach, but collecting them would be good. And yeah, and pretty much. And of course, we do one final hug before we set off to our adventure. And yeah, let's do this. So yeah, and here's the map, what it looks like and stuff. It looks really nice. Departure, where we go off and stuff, and yeah, and this is where our journey begins. So the journey begins in this departure level and stuff, and then obviously this is where the game finally starts, if you ask me. And the first stage itself is really good. Yeah, I encountered a bit of a glitch here and stuff, but we get introduced to our character name, that being, of course, Foil? Okay, Royal Foil. Foil? I think that's the name of it. Foil and stuff. And then after that, after when we meet, Foil and stuff, after when we meet Foil, Foil and stuff, who is pretty much, a character that is going to be very important to this game and stuff. Considering this girl right here is pretty much the battling of TetherGeist, basically, and stuff. But yeah. And then after, when we sleep and stuff and complete that level, now World 1 is done, and we move on to World 2, Fungal Forest. And obviously, after waking up, we move on to here, and here it comes. So yeah, this is Foil and stuff. And yeah, open to sea and stuff, and this is where we get to this whole spirit stuff. That, these humans or shamans or whatever these spirits are, pretty much allow us to dash. And she pretty much explains, I guess, the story of how we can just, dash with these spirits. So, yeah. But lore aside, though, obviously, this was the stage itself. And it's overall very amazing. I really loved it, honestly. The whole, purple, pink squids, honestly. It's fun to really bounce around those things. And, yeah. And also, we see some, ancient thing about, who we are and stuff. And how this binding of spirit works and stuff. And, yeah. And then after that, we move on to our World 2-2 and stuff. And then we, of course, I should mention how this game world is done, is that there's 2 levels that are fully, fully lengthy stages. And then there's going to be, one town and stuff, and yeah. And yeah, we meet up with Foil again and stuff. And yeah. And yeah. Just like the illumination of the scrolls and stuff and the spirits. And yeah. And yeah, no longer tails. And yeah, just like at the fount and stuff. We shall see soon, my friend, and yeah. It's gonna be incredible, as they say, the sketchbook, and yeah. And the illustrations of what she sees, and yeah, pretty much, and yeah. And, of course, safe travels and now and stuff. And after that, we go to the next stage, the Depths of the Forest. which is another fun stage and stuff. And we do this binding. We meet up with the elderly guy, who was pretty much the granny of TetherGeist and stuff. And yeah. But anyways, after that, we meet up with him. We say thank you to him. And of course, more of these pink squids and gimmicks and stuff. And we meet up with the giant frog and stuff. And also, this frog can actually speak, but that's later in the game. And yeah, after that. And that was the forest world and stuff. The tree falling over and stuff. And yeah. And then after that, after you know, when she pretty much is like, you know, knocking down the wood and stuff, then we go to the Eden Town and stuff. And this Eden Town, of course, is basically some town that's still, you know, right there. Then we get introduced to a new gimmick, which is this fire pepper gimmick and stuff. Is it a pepper? Sorry. It may not be a pepper, but it looks like a pepper. But it's a fire pepper gimmick and stuff. And that it basically means if we dash into it, we can pretty much, if we hit like some kind of wall, some wooden thing, or some switch, we can explode to it. It's kind of like the Blastman weapon from a Mega Man 11, basically. And yeah. It's basically like a dynamite, you know, dash and stuff. And we meet up with the old man again and stuff. And yeah, now we go to 3-2. No, that was 3-1. Now 3-2, Eden Quarry and stuff. And then 3-3, Forest of Eden and stuff. And this huge, like, you know, by this huge, like, you know, stage where we're just, like, popping and exploding things and stuff. And yeah. And yeah. Crabs and stuff like that. And after that, benefit of the lives for others, that's basically. And after the Forest of Eden, where we basically go through dynamite, you know, dashing and stuff, which is a really fun gimmick and stuff, I really do. It kind of reminds me of the Super Mario ROM hacks that had, like, that TNT gimmick where Mario steps on that thing, and yeah. I'm surprised that, you know, that I really hope someone does a Super Mario ROM hack of TetherGeist, since that would actually be so cool. I do sadly think it's probably going to be Kaizo, unfortunately, but I really hope it's a standard version of the Super Mario ROM hack, and yeah. But anyways, enough off topic. After World 3, we go to World 4 in the Forgotten City, and this is where May, sorry, I don't know, I'm just going to call her M and stuff. I keep having a hard time to pronounce her name. But M, you know, obviously she goes to explore this huge abandoned city and stuff, which is very, very huge and stuff. But one critique I want to get out of the way is that, like, when there's like a 2D spray and have some kind of 3D ground and stuff, I think the stairs should have just been something simple, like, basically like what I'm drawing right here, like this and this and this. It should have been kind of like this, not like this 3D pesto isometric that looks like it could be in an RPG or a Zelda kind of thing. And yeah, since this is a 2D side-scrolling platformer and stuff, I would... My nitpick would be is to put the stairs like this, but that's just my nitpick. But anyways, back to the game and stuff. We go through this an interesting abandoned city, like why did this place got abandoned and stuff. And we meet up with Foil again, and we get introduced to a new amazing gimmick, which is this blue flower and stuff. Basically, you know, press dash, and then you see this blue thing flying, and then you press that button, and bam, and stuff. I think I've seen a gimmick like that before, but I don't remember what other 2D platformer had a gimmick like that. But yeah. And a big empty city and stuff, and yeah, pretty much. And yeah, pretty much. So yeah, Foil again and stuff, and yeah. And then we meet up with her again in the city and stuff. This abandoned city and this mountain and stuff, and yeah. The spirit, closer than we think and stuff. No more tether and stuff, and all I have found a long forgotten god, copyright and stuff. That is kind of neat for a pixelated platformer, but this is a Celeste Lake, so what were you expecting? And then 4-3, Fount of Souls and stuff. And then obviously we're going through some dashing and stuff. And yeah, seems bad, sure it's okay and stuff. It's really no big deal and stuff. And yeah, although technically that's gonna backfire and stuff because since we're very kind of dishonest and stuff. And yeah. The fount, if you need me and stuff. And yeah, so after that, I also really like this background, man. Like, this is one of the reasons I have to say is one of the reasons why I prefer 2D games. It's because you can really see, since the camera is like from side view, you can see like a view of the background art much more better than compared to like in a 3D game where the camera is like behind you. So yeah, I always think there's something like more beauty when there's a side view camera and stuff in a 2D platformer compared to a 3D platform. But yeah. But then after that, we go up and stuff. We meet up with the elderly man again, and yeah, pretty much. And here are the spirits. Remember these guys from the beginning of the game? They're finally back, and they say, "Man, I can't believe it" and stuff. And yeah, they actually let us come and stuff, and yeah, that's amazing. But we didn't. We actually kind of like like made it. We just sneak out. Wow, thanks. even they know the authority of those elderlies are pretty too bad. And we travel on foot, and yeah. And then after that, my mom will be home within the next few days and stuff, going with her some mining. And yeah, I can really honestly, I don't know, relate with that. Like, I feel like when I say like I want to finish every game in 2026, I can't really sometimes do that and stuff. I know I have Subnautica 2 I still want to play and stuff. But there also is that, Ink, Paintbrush, Metroidvania I want to play, and yeah. I'm sorry if that kind of seems off topic, but I can sometimes really relate with, M's journey and stuff, and yeah. But in reality, I can only, I feel like, it's better to be, hooked with one game at a time and stuff. Okay, but back to the game itself. But overall, this Abandoned City stage was really amazing. The Blue Orb gimmick was very fun, honestly. And obviously it was fun to do it diagonally. Along there's also another orb gimmick being the yellow one, which bounces off, and stuff. And of course where you have to shoot this orb and throw in these circles, and then it goes to the other side and then you press the button. It's a very fun timing gimmick that really is a lot of fun and stuff. And yeah, Found of Souls. And not the Found. And this is where the conflict now begins and stuff with these two and stuff. It's here, it's further in here. Do a meditation and stuff. Foil and stuff. Hole and find a god. Go further and stuff. And yeah, it's alright, I know you're feeling upset. Spirit door. And yeah, this is where the conflict comes in, because I think it's probably because we're just being disingenuous and stuff, and we kind of lie to Foil and stuff. And yeah, Foil and stuff, and yeah. And that was Formative Souls. Very great world, honestly. And one thing I like from Furl-2 and Furl-3 are the music. Oh my god, man, that music was so damn atmospheric, energetic, and just rocking, honestly. Okay, not rocking, but more atmospheric, energetic atmosphere. I really just love the music. I already said that in my short. But man, the music of those stages were really damn good. I really absolutely loved it. And I can just safely say, honestly, it's definitely a music I would definitely listen to again, honestly. Just how absolutely amazing it was, honestly. So yeah. But yeah, after that it's 4-3. And now we move on to 5-1, the Chase And this is probably another one of my favorite stages. I think either this or Chapter 6, I think this is my second favorite. The World 4 is my third favorite, and this will be my second favorite stage. We both unfortunately fall down and stuff because sadly we were kind of a bit reckless. And now our reckless has, have consequences. Foil, this is all wrong. Where's my... We're not even at the front door. And, yeah. And pretty much, yeah. Gotta keep going. I have to find some spirits. And, yeah, we have to find Boo and stuff. Then we keep going. And, yeah, see you around, basically. And, of course, we see this giant frog again, and he talks. So, yeah. Remember when I said this guy can talk? Well, here he is. He can talk again, although he's in a different, color and stuff. But, yeah, we reunite with, with our spirit again. And that was the town. Now it's time for 5-2 and 5-3. This is Lost Libraries. And this stage is just so fun, man. Oh my god, that green orb gimmick where you earn an extra speed boost and stuff. Well, first we go through this conflict with Foil. And yeah, that was just so peak, man. Just a peak level design gimmick. And it made so many fun, creative, unique setups, honestly, that made this world probably my second favorite. The only reason it's not my first favorite because, well, Chapter 6 pretty much suppressed it. But when you hit the green orb and just dash off and speed, oh my god, that's just so much fun. It was honestly turning from a 2D precise platformer to a 2D momentum-based platformer, and yeah. So yeah. And then here comes Foil. Why are you doing this to me? I deserve this. Heal me and stuff. Show yourself. and I will find you and stuff. And yeah, pretty much. Job is done and stuff. And yeah. And now we get to, this is just even better than the last stage. I thought it wouldn't get better than this, but the chase, that was also another fun level where we had to run away from Foil. And it was just a fun escape sequence. I was just hyping so much. I was just running. It was just so much urgency. It was just fun. And combined with the fun, unique setups from the last stage, it just combined into one amazing, fun, creative, level design gimmick masterpiece combined with the smooth control. So yeah. Anyways, that's chapter 5. Now moving on to chapter 6. Chapter 6, the final chapter of this video game and stuff, TetherGeist. And it's hands down my number one favorite, just overall peak, amazing chapter from a gameplay and story. Just both were amazingly well done and stuff. And yeah, so as we go to Villain Chamber, sorry if I mispronounced that, we made it out of the volcano, and now we are ready to finish this game once and for all in this stage. And I really love these water slopes. They're actually like really fun to like slide down and boost off. And yeah, and honestly this stage was just really great. I really love the aesthetic. And then after that we go through corrupted halls, and I think this might just be the final stage of this game because of just how long and lengthy it was. And then we finally meet up with the fountain, although I'm not sure if this is the fountain, since spoiler alert, I don't think it wasn't. But this is because I did not get the, true ending and stuff. So yeah. So yeah, pretty much. But I will get the true ending after this and stuff. I will go back to 100%, collect all the flowers to obtain, unlock the true ending, and yeah. And then we apologize, and of course, and yeah, pretty much. And yeah, pretty much. So yeah. And then we're back to this dream place from chapter 2 and stuff. And then we see our mom again. We should have never let her go and stuff. I'm here, I'm safe. And yeah, the spirits. I feel you, spirits. And yeah. And pretty much. And yeah. And yeah, of course. And then we get introduced to our family and stuff. But yeah. And then, of course, through this, amazing gimmick parkour, platforming sections where it combines each gimmick. We talk to the elders again. And then we run from these mutated faces and stuff. And Jesus Christ, holy crap. These things are just really assholes for no reason to me. Sorry, to M. Poor M. I really wish, I really wish I could, I really wish I could just, help her and stuff. But yeah, okay, I'm sorry. I know this is a fictional game. I apologize, but yeah. And then obviously we tell this thing to go away and stuff, and it's another amazing, well done chase sequence stage. This is probably just hands down my favorite chapter, like I said, because it combines all the gimmicks from the past few stages and worlds and stuff, and just makes it into one epic cinematic, showdown, finale, send off, farewell. Well, nah, because I got the normal ending. I know if I got the true ending, maybe I could have to be doing one more stage and stuff, but yeah. But yeah, and I also like the graphics and aesthetics here, like the space, like dimension void or galaxy area where I think it's your spirit. We ran away and stuff, and yeah, pretty much and stuff. And yeah, pretty much. And then we go through this, and then obviously after the sequence escape, this intense chase and stuff. Then we have an argument and stuff, and then apparently like Dewey came and stuff. And then we know how it feels and stuff. And then spoiler alert, no, Foil isn't dead. Thankfully, Foil is still alive, and yeah. And then we can choose how we want to live with them. Now it talks about nature versus nurture and stuff. And yeah, me too and stuff. Been through worse. And then we hug her. And this kind of feels very reminiscent of Celeste and stuff. And yeah. And then a big montage flashing cutscene where we basically get to see, like a flashback and stuff. And yeah. And yeah, I'm ready to go and stuff. What are gods? I'll still live on this spiritual. I'm ready to go and stuff. And yeah. Empty and stuff, and yeah, sorry, I'm going the other way, hold on. I'm gonna go home and stuff, so yeah, please take care of Foil, I'm gonna go home. Praying again and stuff, and yeah, this is the elder that we're meeting, the granny, like I said, of TetherGeist. The Celeste granny of TetherGeist, and yeah. It was never more than just a room, spirit together, and yeah. And this is Foil's spirit right here, of course, in miserable and rage and stuff. But of course, the mountain god, which is a, looks like a buffalo or a bear, but I'm not sure. And then we get a cool, like, flashback montage and stuff. And, yeah. And here is a flashback cutscene of all the memories and stuff leading up to here. And, do we get what we came here for? sorry, did you get what you came for and stuff? And I guess it was more than I ever hoped it would be. Pardon me, yeah, missing something, foil and stuff. Fear for foil, and she'll be in good hands on the other side. She'll return home to her mother and stuff. I think you have quite the story to tell. And after that, bam, it's over. And that was TetherGeist. Well, I won't read this. I think you have quite the story to tell. Well, this was the normal ending and stuff. I know the true ending may have an extra stage, an extra cutscene, the true actual ending farewell and stuff, which is why I'm going to play this game again. But that was TetherGeist, the regular true ending. But overall, what an amazing 2D platforming video game this was. I kept up with all the devlog and stuff from, in 2024, even if this game, I think, started either 2023 or 2022. And, yeah, and honestly, I'm just happy that the wait for this game was finally over. And honestly, it was worth it. Now, I do admit, do you remember from the beginning of the video I said this game was 8 out of 10? Going back to that point, I think it was still a great video game, don't get me wrong. And I'm still going to replay it, honestly, because of how, replayable this game was and how it definitely feels like I'm going to play it again. But I think it's very lacking of content if you're not going to do, any kind of 100%ing or not going to take it very slowly. If you're just going to speedrun it or just go fast, then it can get kind of limiting in content and stuff like that. So that's why. But the smooth movement, the amazing graphics, the wonderful music, and just, the simple but great story to follow. Not on the same level as Celeste's story or Pizza Tower story or Shovel Knight story. But it's still a really great story in the end of the day, and I liked it and stuff. And, yeah, I really enjoy it and stuff. And, yeah, pretty much. And, of course, special thanks to, of course... Well, yeah, and also congrats to all the backers and stuff, and yeah. Thank you, Owen Co Games, honestly. You guys really made a masterpiece. And I can safely say that I'm really happy to be, I'm really happy that I was able to watch the devlogs. I sadly never got a chance to back it, but I was able to buy this game on launch on both Steam and Nintendo Switch, too. And, I don't do that with a lot of games nowadays, honestly, and yeah. But, yeah, and stuff. And I obviously have reviewed this game and stuff, and yeah, pretty much. And, yeah, that's basically it. And, yeah, before I, go and stuff, obviously, and stuff. And, yeah, pretty much. So, anyways, and that's it. And also, M reuniting with her mother and stuff. Okay, I think I'm going to pronounce her name right. It's M-A-E. May. I think it's May. May reunites with his mother, and it's such a beautiful, happy ending and stuff. Well, this is the regular ending. This isn't no, true ending, but I'm obviously going to go back to the true ending, but yeah. But overall, an amazing 2D platforming video game. I'm glad I was a part of this devlog journey, and happy to see this game finally now released. And yeah, and I bought it on launch. And I don't do that nowadays with a lot of video games. I usually only buy it for, one system and stuff. And yeah. But TetherGeist was a good example. Was an exception, though. And yeah. I hope this gets a Nintendo Switch, either 1 or 2 physical copies soon, and yeah. But yeah, thanks for playing, and that was TetherGeist. What an amazing 2D platform video game this was. May and her spirit, is it Bayo? I think it's Bayo. May and her Bayo and stuff, and yeah, reunite with, with her mother and stuff, and yeah. And that's it. That's TetherGeist. And yeah, that was TetherGeist and stuff. So yeah, overall, I'm definitely going to play this game to get the true ending and stuff. But as of now, this was definitely a fun video game from start to finish, and I definitely enjoyed it and had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, thank you, Owen Co Games, for making an amazing video game from start to finish, and I'm forever thankful. Actually, no. I didn't want to do that. Sorry. Let me just slow back and stuff. But yeah. Okay. But yeah. And of course, as I said in my YouTube short, I have 2005 deaths and stuff, and yeah. No, I know that's just disabled, but yeah. 2005 deaths, that was the year I was born with, and yeah. But yeah, I'm going to get 100% soon, and yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that was overall TetherGeist. Definitely an amazing video game, and I definitely recommend you go give it a try. Please don't sleep on it. I know Muganix and Mouse Pie PI for Hire and Super Meat Boy 3D are obviously going to be more popular. And TetherGeist might sadly end up another situation, most likely either similar either to probably most likely Sanabi, another 2D platforming video game another 2D platforming video game that came out 2023 that was also inspired by another popular indie 2D platformer, Katana Zero, similar to how this was inspired by Celeste. So yeah, but honestly, overall, please guys don't sleep on this gem and stuff. And yeah, it's an 8 out of 10. It's not on the same 10 out of 10 level as something like Pizza Tower, Celeste, Shovel Knight, The Messenger, Cyber Shadow, Neon Inferno, or Katana Zero and stuff, or no, not End of Blast. What 2D platformer? I completely forgot. There's another 2D platformer I probably forgot about. And maybe Nine Souls also. But, although I'm pretty sure that might be a Metroidvania, but I'm not really sure. But, yeah, but please, guys, don't sleep on TetherGeist, honestly. You guys are going to have a fun blast with this game. Trust me, okay? It's going to be really great. It may not be on the same level 10 out of 10 perfect, but it's still a fun game. It's still amazing, and you guys should still give it a chance. So, yeah. So, anyways, guys, that's it. That's overall my final review on TetherGeist. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, yeah. And of course, a big thank you to O and Co Games. Seriously, you guys did an absolute amazing job with this game and stuff, and yeah, pretty much. So thank you guys for making such an amazing video game, that being TetherGeist and stuff. For a first video game, it was amazing. It's not perfect, but that's what makes this game even more special. It is probably flawed, but it has a lot of heart into it, and yeah. And as I said in my comment here and stuff, finally TetherGeist, and stuff. Obviously, I'm going to be making, an update comment. Yeah, I was a 69 comment at the time when this trailer was released. But yeah, that was TetherGeist and stuff. And thank you guys for, watching my review on TetherGeist. So yeah, farewell, TetherGeist. Thank you for the 10 out of 10 memories and stuff. And no, it's not over yet. I have to do the true ending. But yeah, thank you, TetherGeist, for the amazing adventure from start to finish. And thank you guys so much for watching my review on TetherGeist. This is EC3 saying one final goodbye. And farewell, TetherGeist. Farewell, and this is EC3 saying farewell. Farewell, TetherGeist.